Welcome to Inside The Octagon. I'm John Gooden, alongside our resident analyst Dan Hardy. 2 UFC belts are on the line at UFC 199, but for now, the time has come for us to cast our eyes over these top bantamweights. Dominick Cruz proved he is as good as he's ever been despite his injury woes. He now has 21 wins and just 1 blot on his copybook, a Uriah Faber guillotine 9 long years ago. The California kid is back to challenge the Dominator, who'll be participating in just his 3rd bout in 5 years. Can the fan favourite Faber relive that past glory and upset the champion? The breakdown is coming up. So Dan, the first piece of gold that will be contested at UFC 199 is bantamweight gold. Uriah Faber versus Dominick Cruz, the champion. Just one thing as this is loading up. 4th time for Faber to try and get his hands on gold. Yeah, you've got to think there's a lot of pressure on Uriah Faber in this situation. I mean, he has to get the belt in his grasp this time, where it may pass him by forever. At 37, you know, him and Bisping are kind of sharing the same territory. It's that last chance saloon. They've got to get that belt, otherwise it's probably going to pass them by. And you know, he's got so much experience, but that 1 loss on Dominick Cruz's record is the 1 loss to Uriah Faber. If he can replicate that, he gets to be the UFC champion, and that's something that's eluded him for a long time. Perfect storyline. Love it. And the reason why is because they've fought one another in the past, so what better place to start than that very first meeting? Yes. And a little disclaimer, you might not recognise who's about to come up on the screen. Yeah, they both look very different, especially haircuts. They've both evolved quite a lot from this fight, but the person that stands out as changing the most is Dominick Cruz, without a doubt. Not only does he look like he's like one of the monkeys with his haircut, but it just his footwork. He's so much more steady. He's so much more stable and still. He's not got that erratic movement that we've seen in the octagon. I mean, he's relatively still there for Dominick Cruz, which obviously is very, very successful to this point as well. Still. But there was something that needed to change to beat Uriah Faber. Yes. And it's almost like the presence of Uriah Faber prompted this evolution in his game. I mean, he may be very bored if Uriah Faber wasn't in mixed martial arts, because it's the questions that Uriah Faber asks. So he was the guy that he kind of maybe put on a pedestal and thought, I need to find a way, a strategy, a method in which to fight so I can get past this guy. Well, he was the champion. You know, it makes sense. I mean, everybody was aiming for Uriah Faber at the time. He was the man. And Dominick Cruz was confident he could beat him. So he's going to thank him after the fight, of course, when they meet. Probably not. But he definitely was the catalyst for the changes in Dominick Cruz's career. So the first few exchanges were won by Uriah Faber, in my opinion. He stood his ground. He landed good, clean shots. He initiated most of the exchanges. But then we got this flurry. This happened. Dominick Cruz tried to get a single leg. He does a good job of elevating the foot here. He's controlling this ankle, you can see. Let me just roll it on a tiny bit more so you can see what he's doing. He's lifting the ankle of Uriah Faber so as to try and keep him on the seat of his pants, to try and keep him on the floor. And Faber does a great job of switching his hips out, getting his legs back underneath him and flattening himself down. Look at that. Beautiful work. But you can already see he's setting up this guillotine. So Dominick Cruz is now aware of this. So as the fight progresses, he fights out of the guillotine and he immediately goes for the same takedown again. Beautiful knee tap, drives him to the floor, falls into the guillotine again. Now, I don't know why, but he's sat in this position. Most people would look at this and go, okay, you need to pass this leg, move around to the side, but he didn't. He allowed Uriah Faber to set this up, and this tight grip here was stopping this arm sliding through to reach and getting that proper guillotine grip. But I'm not sure exactly what happened here, and I'm sure that he'll look back on this and think to himself, this was a basic error that he made that he will never make again in his career. Again, Uriah Faber being the catalyst for evolution in Dominick Cruz's game. But Uriah Faber just set this guillotine up perfectly, and we know how tight Uriah Faber's guillotine is. By the time Cruz realised it was on, he'd already got this leg over the back, which is clamping him down, you know. Yeah. He's also got the other shin across the waistline of Dominick Cruz, which is able to control that distance a bit. So not only is he holding him down, but he's also driving him away so he can stretch that neck out. And Dominick Cruz does everything he can to get out, but you know, as soon as he bails out, Uriah Faber keeps a really good grip. He grapevines the legs, so he can't resist that. And then the single-arm guillotine, same as we saw in the first Rockhold-Bisping fight, which is a strange coincidence. Now look at that Dominick Cruz. That guy just there getting up off the canvas, he's not the same guy that got into that arena that night.
He changed a lot in that fight, and he took all of those lessons into the following fights in his career, and he has become one of the best bantamweights that we've ever seen.
Yeah.
And I have to say, it's down to this Uriah Faber fight. I can't see any other points in his fight that he would have made those realizations that he's got to keep moving, he's got to be light on his feet, he can't stay still in front of Uriah Faber because he likes that sprint forward, which we're going to talk about in a second. So it's that movement not only on the feet but on the ground. When you get caught in a bad position, you constantly keep moving. Uriah Faber's very good at snagging things like a neck or an arm or whatever in an exchange. And Dominick Cruz has realised that as long as he is in perpetual motion, it's very difficult for Faber to do that.
Well, let's take a look at some of the evolution of both of these fighters when they met for a second time.
This is where it gets interesting. So you saw the Dominick Cruz of the previous fight where he's kind of standing in range, he's waiting, he's trying to work counters. Let's have a look at the footwork from this one. Look at the focus on his face as well.
Much better haircut as well.
Yeah. Maybe not for Uriah Faber. But here we are again, look, look at this movement. This is a different fighter. This is not the same person that fought Faber in the first fight. And you can see Faber's now unnerved. Now he is not leading the exchanges. He is now trying to force a grappling match because he can't keep him pinned down. He can't keep a hold of Dominick Cruz. But look at this balance, look at this takedown defence. And he's not going to accept that as well. Remember the lesson from the first fight, I've got to keep moving. If I stop, I'm at a disadvantage with Uriah Faber. So it's this constant movement, this constant... Now Uriah Faber starts to make adjustments. That sprint forward that he uses in a lot of his fights starts to work well for him. So we saw it worked in that first knockdown. He lands that overhand right, he knocks him down clean, and as Dominick Cruz does, he bounces straight back up to his feet and immediately makes that adjustment. This is the same round. Now he's expecting Uriah Faber to have that rush forward again. Faber's going to come belting forward. But this time, Dominick Cruz has got something waiting for him, and he's going to time that uppercut. He fakes it one time first. You can see he sets himself, there it is, and then as Uriah Faber comes in, Cruz just pops it right under the chin. It's really nicely timed. And to be honest, I think it was the speed of Uriah Faber that saved him, because if he was a beat faster, if he was a beat slower, he would have walked straight onto the power of this. Whereas as the punch lands, he's almost going past it, so he twists his jaw away.
I see what you mean.
But he's already moving past, you see. But the timing's there. Dominick Cruz is looking for these things and making these adjustments. But as the fight progressed, it was much more a story of Dominick Cruz being just far too elusive for Uriah Faber, being able to ride punches by being light on his toes and being able to absorb shots instead of standing his ground. Again, his level changing, his wrestling was dominant in this fight. And going back from the first fight, I've got to keep moving. I can't stay still. Even in the scrambles, when Uriah Faber started to initiate takedowns, which was beautiful here. Look at this switch here. Nice. Gets him on the floor, but Cruz is refusing to hold still. He's refusing to settle until he's on top. When he gets there, he pins, he holds. I've got him. But Faber at this point now has realised that he's losing these scrambles, so he's starting to panic a bit more. This starts giving control to Dominick Cruz. He starts taking control. He starts to open up with bigger shots, landing cleaner. Uriah Faber now again is panicked, but he does still land good, clean punches. Every now and then he'll land that one good, clean overhand right, which will put Dominick Cruz on the floor, forces him straight back to his wrestling game. But it's the hustle. Dominick Cruz has to win these hustles because Uriah Faber is very good at that 0 to 60 burst, sprint forward, create a bunch of chaos, which we're going to see in the next playlist for Uriah Faber. So if Dominick Cruz can interject, can stop that momentum, can say, hold on, takedown, hold on, overhand right, hold on, uppercut, every single one of these barriers that he's going to put for Uriah Faber is going to take his confidence away. And this is what I'm talking about with this hustle. Watch this takedown. So he goes for the knee tap one time. There we go. You can see I timed that perfectly. Look at that stop, John. There's the first knee tap, and this is the same takedown as the first one as well, when he got caught in the guillotine. He's elevating with this arm. He's lifting, and he's taking that base away. Now he drives him over. And remember what I said about Uriah being really good at getting his legs out the way and getting back square to his hips? This is exactly what you're going to see here. So as it progresses, he flips, he rolls, he gets straight back onto his hips. And again here, straight away for the knee tap again. It's that hustle, it's that persistence for the takedown that won Dominick Cruz that fight, that got him the belt. And you can see the disappointment on Uriah's face. It's like, again, I was so close. I think it was 2 rounds to 3 for Cruz. Obviously, it means a lot to him, getting that win, getting that revenge over Uriah Faber. But this is the time, really, where one of these two fighters can step in and make a real statement against the other one. And they both desperately want that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's for the highest honours in their weight division. And this has caused a lot of interest. This has been bubbling up for a long time. And obviously people have got some questions for us, Dan.
Of course.
So let's take a look and see what they have posed. So, Chris, let's see what you have. Can Uriah Faber fend off the Cruz takedown, as his wrestling is very underrated?
A great question. Can he defend the takedown? We don't know. He did a great job in that second fight. I mean, the first fight he was able to set up the guillotine, and after that fight he did state he's not too bothered about being taken down. Now, whether that changes because he was losing those scrambles in that rematch, I don't know. But he knows he's got decent takedown defence. He's got good hips, he's got good reaction times and great balance. He can also threaten a lot off his back, and he's got good sweeps. So I'm not sure he's too concerned necessarily about the takedown, apart from when it comes to the point scoring. What he wants to do is hurt Dominick Cruz. He wants to make statements early on. And Dominick Cruz, I think he only relies on his wrestling if those first 2 rounds are in the books and he's still not got Uriah Faber on the back foot. So they're very evenly matched with the wrestling. Before we get into your next playlist, so Dominick Cruz, he put on his analyst's glasses in an interview. And we've seen he's a great analyst. I think that talks about what you were saying in his earlier career, when he's obviously earmarked Uriah Faber and found different ways in which he can beat him. But he said something quite poignant and quite hurtful, that Faber hasn't evolved and he's uncoachable. Okay. So we're going to take a look at Uriah Faber now, and maybe keep that in mind when you show us whether or not he has in fact evolved. Okay, well, it's a good point. And before actually going to the next playlist, one thing that I would like to say is that there's one area in Uriah Faber's game which I haven't seen any improvement on, that is the low kicks. Okay. Now, Dominick Cruz had good success in their second fight with them, but if you look at even Uriah Faber's last fight against Frankie Saenz, he got chopped up with the low kicks even though he won that decision. So if Dominick Cruz can take away that forward momentum by chopping away at those low kicks, that could really pay dividend. And that is an area in which I would say Uriah Faber hasn't evolved. But there are other areas in which he has. And that can't be denied. I mean, look at this beautiful knee against Frankie Edgar. Probably the best thing he did of the whole fight. He's going to step forward, he's going to throw a lead knee. It's really nicely timed, and he knows that Frankie Edgar is going to have his head in that spot because of the kind of fighter that Frankie Edgar is. He likes to weave inside and keep his head low. So he steps through and does a nice, beautiful raising knee. Catches him right on the nose. There, look. And it rocked him, and then immediately is into the takedown defence. These are the single shots that are going to change the landscape of the fight against Dominick Cruz. He did it here against Frankie Saenz. Look at this. He rocked. He's hurt him. Backs him up against the fence, and then here comes that chaos, that pressure. This is the signature Uriah Faber that we know, this flurry that he throws. But these single shots are what open up that flurry. You can't start one of those flurries without one of these good, clean shots because you put yourself at harm's reach. Right. Whereas if you can daze somebody, put them on the back foot, upset their balance, like this, look, he's constantly pressuring. You can see him fall into the fence there. It's that forward momentum that he relies on to get the fight in his favour. And Alex Caceres is a really unorthodox, a really unusual fighter, very long, very lengthy as well. Yeah. But this is something else I want to talk about. And he used it against Frankie Saenz as well. And what's interesting about this is he's not necessarily working on this particular throw. He's not interested in taking top position necessarily. If he gets it, he'll take it. But what it does is it sets up the front headlock. So as he goes for this, he launches his opponent. And in this situation, he starts working for the top position as he starts to stand up, which he doesn't get. And he breaks with a good strike, something that he did very well in the second Dominick Cruz fight. But here against Frankie Saenz, straight onto a front headlock. Beautiful. I love these little things that Uriah Faber does to initiate chaos, to initiate a scramble. Again here, he catches the leg, starts throwing that big overhand right. No real intention of focusing on the leg, the takedown. He's focused on driving forward and pushing Caceres off balance. So he collapses into the fence and he's on the back foot. Now, this scramble's already begun. Uriah Faber thinks very quickly. So in this scramble, he takes the back, he traps the arm. Look at that. Look at that beautiful trap of the arm. And that was in a scramble. That was not something that was thought about. There was no planning down to that. That was an opportunity that he saw, that he took, that made the finish far easier for himself. It's the chaos element that Uriah Faber brings to the fight that makes this so exciting. Dominick Cruz has got great footwork. He's got good lateral movement. If he can keep that lateral movement up, it's going to make it very difficult for Uriah Faber to charge forward and pin him down. Okay. Having said that, when Uriah Faber does charge forward and lands clean shots, he puts Dominick Cruz on the floor. Footwork. I'm so excited about this one. It's going to be like a Run DMC fight. It's going to be like, honestly, it's going to be like two breakdancers fighting against each other. You've got the one guy that's really aggressive, forward and backwards, and then that circular motion, that perpetual movement of Dominick Cruz.
Well, let's take a look at Dominick Cruz then, and we can dine out on
Yeah.
some of this fantastic footwork. 'Cause he's become a bit of a model, if you
Yes.
like, for this. And he said that TJ Dillashaw has copied his blueprint.
Well, there's an argument for it. I mean, this is how the sport evolves. It's how it moves forward. I mean, Dominick Cruz is doing so well with this kind of footwork that it only makes sense other people are going to start trying it out.
Yeah.
But then we see him get back in the octagon after a long layoff, and we didn't really get to see a great deal of it. A big blast double leg, bang, puts Mizugaki on the floor. And as Mizugaki's trying to scramble, he bullies him down to the fence again, takes his base away, drives him to the fence, and then just basically the jackhammer punch just finishes him.
He's an experienced veteran himself. So.
Most definitely. And just small, nice, intricate little details here. You can see Mizugaki's reaching here to try and get back up. He's got an underhook here.
Yeah.
But what you're going to see Dominick Cruz do, he's going to lower his level and he's going to drive his hip into the fence, which actually traps Mizugaki's arm. And we can't see it right now, but as Mizugaki turns to his knees, you're going to see Dominick Cruz. This hand that goes down the back here, let me just draw that in so you can see where that arm is. So this arm's going down the back here right now. As the adjustment happens, he's going to hook around this side of the hip. So then he can keep his hip pinched into Mizugaki's, which basically renders this underhook absolutely useless.
Because he was trying to get his hips around the other way, get back to his feet, but he's completely flattened him out against the fence.
Exactly. And drives him into the fence. So he's landing these shots at the same time. Mizugaki's trying to get this arm out, but you can see the hand there. You can see it pinned against his side. There's the glove.
Yeah.
There's nothing Mizugaki can do with that arm now. That's trapped. He can't defend himself. He can't create a base.
Yeah.
And Dominick Cruz is pulling in on one side, controlling that hip on the far side.
So he can't even get back to
So he can't get back to his feet. Now, I think he was a little bit disappointed after this fight. I think he wanted to show a bit more because he'd been out for so long. But that was a real statement, wasn't it? But then we go into the Dillashaw fight, and this is where we start to see him at his best. This is where we start to see him out Cruz Dillashaw. And Dillashaw has been out Dillashawing people for, his whole game plan, his whole approach is basically a mirror of Dominick Cruz. That erratic footwork, that change in stance, constantly moving your head off the centre line and striking at strange angles. So
many questions were asked of him as well because of the time he'd spent away.
Yes.
And he just answered so much stuff in this fight.
It was almost like TJ Dillashaw was the upgraded version of Dominick Cruz.
Yes.
And I think a lot of people expected to see that in this fight. They expected Dominick Cruz to come in and try and be himself, but just be bettered by a younger, quicker version of himself.
Yes.
But it shows that analytical mind, that being able to take a fighter apart and analyse where the openings are in their game. Now watch this slip that he lands here. It's a really nice. He slips just on the inside and counters with a right hook. And this again is Dillashaw not being able to keep up with the footwork. Slips to the outside, look at that. Beautifully timed.
Oh, I mean, we took this inches.
Yeah, and then lands a left hook counter. But that's the unpredictability of Dominick Cruz's footwork, because you're not sure which way he's moving. He switches his stance. Yeah. You think he's going to move forward and he slips to the outside. Really nice work. Switches his stance, drops his head to the far side, so he throws thinking his head's going to be there, and then he slips straight back, sets up the right hook, and puts Dillashaw on the back foot. Now, Dillashaw did a good job of trying to stay in this fight. It was a really tough, close, contested fight, but it was the minute details that edged the fight for Dominick Cruz. It was this ability to move around, catch him with long winging hooks, and just keep Dillashaw asking questions like, why can I not touch this guy? Why can I not put hands on him? Like, he's been the faster guy. Yeah. He's been the faster guy in this division for a long time. He's been able to dance around people and confuse people with footwork. Look what he did to Barao in that fight. Yeah. I mean, that was like old school and new school fighting.
No one thought that was going to happen.
No. So you wouldn't have thought that Dillashaw would have struggled with Cruz, who has a similar kind of footwork, but has been out for so long. So this really kind of puts Dominick Cruz right at the top. I mean, I know he's the champion, but it really sets him above the rest of the people in this division. This is a great fight to watch, though. The last loss on Mighty Mouse Johnson's record, the weight class above, before he moved down and he just basically took over the flyweight division.
Yeah.
A great fight against Dominick Cruz. A lot of scrambles, a lot of good exchanges, but Dominick Cruz showing his strength, showing his wrestling ability, and showing his ability to hustle, to be able to keep a pressure on that a lot of people can't keep up with. And to say that Dominick Cruz can put the pace on Demetrius Johnson that he can't keep up with is a massive statement because he's too fast for all the flyweights in the division.
Yeah.
So look at this, beautiful.
Super fight in the future, maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I've got to see this fight. I've got to see Demetrius Johnson move up. It's the super fight everyone wants to see. Look at this, great pressure here though. Forward pressure. This is what I want to show. I pulled this clip because this is interesting. I've never seen this before.
Oh, tucked in.
How about that?
Yeah.
That's cheeky, isn't it?
Very.
So this is a good example of Dominick Cruz encountering something in the octagon which he's probably never seen before. I've never seen somebody do that before.
Yeah.
It's an interesting tactic, but what it does, you've got to think Dominick Cruz is trying to pull him away from the fence. So that's giving him an anchor. That's allowing him to dig in.
Surely Mighty Mouse only got really small toes. So.
Well, maybe. But you'll see the adaptation that he makes. As the fight progresses, Dominick Cruz actually has to lower his level and go lower and lift him out
ridiculous.
and put him down on the floor.
Yeah.
And as soon as he puts him down, he elevates again, lifts his legs off the canvas. And one other thing that's going to be really important, and I've picked this out specifically because he's fighting Uriah Faber, how he deals with that forward momentum with someone that's fast, that's aggressive, and that has a real variety of skills that they can throw. A variety of punches, a variety of takedowns and kicks, and a multitude of different things. So watch this. This is the beginning of the exchange. Now, Demetrius Johnson is going to start charging forward now, and as he does, watch the head movement and the footwork. Like hardly anything hits Cruz. Out the way, out the way, out the way, slips under, rolls, and then immediately pressures. Brilliant.
Yeah.
His ability to see people as they're moving forward and read them and move himself out of the way. And we also see it in the second Uriah Faber fight, where as he's moving backwards, he's able to stop, level change.
He has options.
Oh, so many options. More options than most people will have moving backwards.
Yeah.
And I think that's down to his footwork. It's down to that ability to land on one side and then spring off and switch direction constantly, whereas most people would never do that in their normal footwork. And he shadowboxes like this. I mean,
yes, I was going to talk about this with you.
Yeah,
you're fascinated.
I am fascinated by it. It's exhausting to watch. Again, here, backs up against the fence, under pressure, finds his way to the back.
Lovely.
He's got so many skills. Yeah, and then again, as soon as he lands, he locks down. Beautiful timing again. This is what Uriah Faber's got to watch out for, because he relies on that forward momentum. This is the last 30 seconds of the round where he just basically cruises through to mount and takes the belt. You've got to think, if you're Uriah Faber, how do I sprint forward and catch this guy when he's constantly moving side to side? Dominick Cruz, he's fought Uriah Faber before. He's thought, I'm standing too still. Uriah Faber's hitting me with everything because he's coming straight at me, so I've got to start using that lateral movement. And that has now evolved mixed martial arts as we know it, as we've seen from Dillashaw and the rest of the alpha male guys who have picked this up. So the benefit for Uriah Faber is that because his team have taken on this style of fight, and he has other people that can effectively mimic this style to a point. But as we've seen, even Dillashaw couldn't beat Cruz at his own game. So it's going to be difficult for Uriah Faber too. I'm so excited about this. I love a rubber match. I love a third rematch. And this has been, a hell of a story that's developed around these two.
Well, I was going to talk. There are so many layers to this. We couldn't possibly cover it all, especially with technical analysis. But there's so much going on around this fight. The intensity between the two fighters as well. It's really leading up to a fantastic fixture at UFC 199. And there's more going forward with the UFC, of course, this summer. And let's take a look at what is coming up. So, June 18th, McDonald versus Thompson. That is, again, we're talking about the evolution of mixed martial arts. What about this guy?
Amazing, unbelievable. I mean, it's Wonder Boy Wonder Boy. I mean, he lives up to the name. He's a fantastic striker, probably one of the best we've seen in the division. He moves so well, he's so fluid and so relaxed. But Rory McDonald is effectively like a modern version of the old school mixed martial artist that puts pressure on you, drags you down, beats you up and chokes you out. I love it. I love the developments of these new styles coming in, and the kickboxing of Wonderboy Thompson is really a nice addition to the welterweight division.
All the way through, title. Great
Beautiful
stuff. Lots to look forward to. So, lots more coming your way over the next month. We'll be back soon with an exciting medley of analysis, all leading to the UFC's biggest week of the calendar year at UFC 200. In the meantime, have fun watching UFC 199. And if you haven't caught it yet, please look out for episode 1, where we break down Luke Rockhold's first title defence against Michael Bisping. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you soon.